This week on Not Just Another Sex Podcast.
What is your sexual love language?
I'm gonna say sexual. Like, if I'm not mentally stimulated, the
stimulation
gonna go away.
It doesn't work. It doesn't
you know
work.
What I mean? I think foreplay even starts outside of the bedroom.
Come on, talk about it.
I think foreplay starts like that morning. Like, just the small things. Like, how can you affirm this person so like by the time you actually get to the bedroom, like she's thinking about that. She's thinking about that moment.
First of all, say some nasty ass shit in my ear that encourages me.
They got one job.
They got one job.
They got one job. Like, if y'all can't talk about that one thing, what else are y'all talking about?
Hey, sugar. I feel like there are so many different things that I need to learn as an adult. I'm this nasty on a regular day, like on a Tuesday. I am your host, Samia Burton, and don't worry, it's not just another sex podcast.
Hey, you guys. Welcome back to Not Just Another Sex Podcast. My name is Samia, and I am your host, and I'm very excited because, one, we back again. I mean, back at it. Like, we get into a real good groove here. But also, more importantly, because we have a guest with us today. And more importantly, we have a boss with us today.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Please give a hand. This is where like the hand clap should come in. We are joined today with Caleb Seals. Say hey to the folks.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
I am doing well. I'm doing good. We had a little turn up session before this. Had a little photos in.
Yeah.
We're giving sexy spice on the episode today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah, well, thank you. So, we are going to get into the adult tip of the day, and then we're going to have you introduce yourself, tell the folks who you are, and then we're going to get into the episode.
Okay.
Cool
Sounds
with you?
Sounds
all right.
Good.
So, the adult tip of today. The adult tip of the day is something where it's like my therapist says, or a life hack, or a little bit to be a little bit better as an adult every day. I think that we look around and next thing we know, we like, oh, we're the grown up in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And that shit sneaks up on you.
Yeah,
so.
It does. I'm 29 now. 29 can't quit. So.
I'm 30. I see how people feel when I be like, oh, I'm getting old. And they be like, girl, yeah. I feel it. So today's adult tip of the day is doing your best doesn't look the same every day.
Right.
And there was an example of basically it depends on how you prioritize your day. And so there was this example of a jar. I'm going to do my best to explain this, y'all. Bear with me. There was a jar example. It's the encouragement for me. For you. There was a jar example. It was on Instagram, and this man poured like rocks in the jar, and he asked, "Was it full?" And everybody was like, "Yes." And then he poured sand in the jar, and the sand got in between the crevices and all that. And then he asked, "Was it full?" And everybody said yes. And then he put the water in, and it was just like, okay, now it's full to the brim. And he asked everybody, "Was it full?" And they said yes. And so for me, I love that example because depending on the order that you prioritize your life will depend on what you have space for. And it gives you the space for your best to not look the same every day, because on those three examples, the jar was technically full, but there's always space for more.
Yeah.
But your best doesn't look the same every day.
It's always going to vary.
Absolutely. And your best is based off of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody else can tell you that or measure it. And so for me, sometimes I feel like I don't have anything left, and then I'm able to fit sand in. You know what I mean? I'm able to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it later, but I think that self-care is a huge part of that.
It is.
It makes more space for things. You're not at the end, you know? So that is the adult tip of the day, you guys.
Love it.
All right. So tell the folks who you are. Please introduce yourself to my beautiful, amazing listeners.
Cool. So I'm Caleb Seals, director, producer, studio owner, production company owner.
Talk about it.
You know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. But, in a nutshell, like, I'm just somebody who genuinely cares about production, giving back. I always coined the phrase, giving forward, but also giving back. You know what I mean? So that's me in a nutshell.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of things.
Yeah.
We would consider in this house, in the Something Extraordinary Content House.
Yeah.
Because we're going, right down the street from the HBUC studio.
Right down the street.
Right down the street. we consider you a boss, right?
Yeah.
So we have this segment of the show, and it's called Twitter Talk. And Twitter Talk is where we're paying respects to Black Twitter and everything that it's been and how it's been a conversation starter.
Right.
Whether you see it on TikTok, Instagram, wherever, it probably started and went viral first on Twitter, right? And so today's Twitter Talk is, do you feel that women ask for a certain type of man that they can't handle?
That's a great question. I would say it depends on the woman. You know, for the general disposition of like the social media age and what we see on social media. Right. Like when we talk about that, yes. But in real life, you know, from women that I've encountered, dated, and stuff like that, I don't really have that experience in my personal life. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like how you broke it up into the social media world in the memes and in the quotes.
It's a difference. It's a clear difference.
Absolutely a difference. And I get the gist of the conversations. And I mean, even having a show, I know you have your own podcast, and so you got to talk about like the things that are said online and stuff like that. But especially here, we address those things and we clear it up and add a little reality on that.
Yeah.
And I've just found a lot of things contradict. So you'll hear that like, oh, if you don't respond to me all day and you don't care about me, you ain't think about me and all this other stuff. And it's like,
it's crazy, man.
Yeah, but crazy. Also you want a man with money, you want a man that got purpose and all those things, and those things take away from the other things that you say you must have, right?
Right.
And so there are some inconsistencies there. So I'm, challenging everybody that's listening to ask yourself, whatever you're asking for, is that going to work with the type of person that you're asking for? Does it make sense?
Right.
Because sometimes it doesn't. You can't say you want a boss or like a man or a partner, whatever, that's knee deep into their purpose, and then they have to check in every hour.
Got to make it make sense.
Or,
you know what I mean? It's just like, that's just not the reality of, people that are like, in this space, male or female. Like if you're a woman and you're running a few different entities, this house specifically, it's just like, I can't expect you to respond to my needs to affirm me so I can feel fulfilled. Like that's just not a realistic expectation. But also at the same time, it's like, in situations where, we're traveling, we're doing this and we're doing that, like, things are kind of good then, you know what I mean? So it's just finding, like, you can't expect more than what you're willing to give, is
there
what
you
I
go.
say.
All right, well, we're going to end it right there. You said what need to be said.
Hey, you guys, it's your host, Samia. And for those of you who didn't know, I'm also the CEO and founder of Sexual Essentials. One of my favorite parts about building that brand was creating a learning platform that has over 250 workshops, interviews, and so much more. Some of my favorite components are the sex position demos. Yes, you heard that right. Demos. They're featuring some people that you may already know. Good Moms Bad Choices has demonstrated some positions for us, as well as Dara. You remember her from our first episode. Those are some of my faves, as well as the lingam and yoni massages. These are great additions to add to your oral loving for your partner. Yes, I said oral loving. I'm trying to keep it clean, guys. Anyways, they are great additions and a great way to spice things up. Outside of our masterclasses, add one of these on to your normal routine and really wow your partner. Click the link below or in any of the links in our bio and sign up for our courses today. All right, now back to the show.
All right, so let's get into these topics today. So first off, you mentioned that you did, videography, photography.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's craziest to me, and I mean, I guess I'm in this space now, but it's craziest to me because we pray and we ask and we study our craft to get in the room.
Yeah.
Right? To be the photographer, to be the videographer behind the camera for these, music videos that you all shoot and so much more, right?
Yeah.
And we're at one point that's all we want, to just be there.
Right.
What did you always know? And what made you decide, you know what? I just want to run all that shit. I want to invite the videographers. Because people ask to be behind the scenes. They ask I shot this video, and you like, I got the team. Like, open season. Yeah. Like it's crazy that you did you ask for that, or did you get pushed into it? I want to know more about that.
I got pushed into it. Honestly, it kind of started out with me just being a photographer. I was just a photographer on campus at Kennesaw State. Shout out Kennesaw State men's basketball team. You know what I'm saying? We just made it to March Madness for the first time ever.
Congratulations.
So, you know what I'm saying? It might be our last, but, I just want to give a shout out to them.
Right now, though, that's all that matters.
So, I was just shooting on campus and, I'm big on like taking things step by step. Like, people have like a long-term goal, but like, what does today look like for you? What does this week look like for you? Like, I know you got this 5-year plan, but master today. If you can master what's in front of you, you can master forever.
That's real.
So
when it comes to even like people's like, you said like your 5-year plan and all of that, I found that those things are more loose.
Yeah.
And I even like designing the house, everything, originally I wanted my own personal set. For example, like one that, my name and lights, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I had to ask myself, like, what was the purpose of 5 years? Not really the plan for 5 years.
Right.
Because if I had compared it to the plan for 5 years, it would have been, I might have done things differently.
Right.
But when I compared it to the purpose of 5 years, it made it very easy for me to say if things fit or they were in alignment. And it was like, no, I don't need that because that doesn't really fit with the purpose. The purpose of my 5-year plan was more vast. And I think that sometimes we get so specific that we miss the mark entirely.
Right.
And so, so what pushed you into wanting, because I if you guys don't know, like production team, there are lights, there are cameras, there's behind the scenes going right now.
It's so many different elements, so many different departments that goes on behind the scenes. And, I just want to kind of kick it back to you in a little bit in a real way right now. Cause, like you talk, very, very publicly about like, your transition from being talent to being behind the camera, you know what I'm saying? So it's just so many different roles and so many different people that are, of value to these different productions that nobody really even knows about. So another thing about like the space that I have, the H-Buck is like, we are giving a platform so people can learn about what that looks like. Cause they only see us. It's just 2 people on camera, but they don't really know that there's 3 cameras behind us. It's multiple lights. It's so many different wires and stuff like that. And, I think the more that, our people, black and brown people, are aware of those things, they'll be more interested in film because they look at film and they think like, oh, you just got to be a person that operates a camera. Like, no, you can be a stylist or you could be a makeup artist and you can work for the rest of your life just off that one skill set.
Absolutely.
But just having the space and the platform to just kind of like, showcase that's the whole reason why we created the studio. So
I feel like it was so important for me to work alone first, right? And commit to my purpose. And I feel like this word is going to keep being thrown around on here. I feel it. It was important for me to understand and pick, you know what I mean, by myself. And I found that as soon as I fell in love with being by myself, every person that I needed showed themselves because also I was able to see the alignment within how we moved within our crafts. Right. So I can't work. You don't want me to work no camera. That's not what you want. It would be very disrespectful, but you can see it. And the way that you move about your own craft, you see that in other people with their craft. So like down to my makeup artist, the way that she moves is how I move about my business. When it comes to my producer, the videographers, every single person, I watch them move in the ways that I learned about myself moving. And it's like, I see you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's still crazy to me that I decided to open up this space.
Yeah.
And
it's a beautiful thing, man. Like I just want to just come out here to say like, I love to see, black women like really pushing themselves and being forward. Like, a lot of the reason why like I kind of jumped as a black man was because of the black women that I had around me. You know what I mean? Like in school at Kennesaw, I bought a house at 24, and that was because, I saw one of my best friends buy a house that was a black woman. You know what I mean? Shout out Lindsay.
All right.
Culture Misfits.
Hey, Lindsay.
So it's just stuff like that. So again, I just want to commend you for that. And,
Thank you.
Also like, just to go back to what you were saying before, it's like just really knowing these different roles behind the camera. Like, even if you don't want to do it, you know what to hire for. You know what I mean? By understanding what they do and understanding how that fits into your ecosystem too. So
what made not being behind the camera, was it ever not enough anymore? Was there a point where it was like, I have to do this, like I need more?
It was a point where I realized that like I gotta use my voice to echo back and reach back and kind of give like other people that look like me, that come from where I come from, just to vocalize to them like what's possible.
Can you talk to the point of, because in this field we do a lot of grunt work, right? And I don't like that term anymore necessarily, because I realize we say it, and we say it because we're used to saying the word. But when you're in the right space and you know your boundaries and you know how to be kind in business but not nice, then you never do grunt work. You always make sure that the work that you do, there is an equal exchange. There is amount of learning that you're getting from it, taken back, and all of that. So could you talk to those points about the boundaries and learning how to say no and not accept every job? Because I mean, we could throw out names here. I think we should give you flowers while you got you here. I mean, you got J. Cole, you've had Charlamagne the Guy, you have Stacey Abrams, you got T-Pain, you have all these, and these are just recent.
Right. That's within the past, 6 months, honestly.
Slight word.
So, but to think about that, it's just like, those are all great names and great projects that I've been a part of, but it just really starts with one, you know what I mean? Just getting that first one. And once you are at that level of quality of work, other people at that level of quality of clients, they'll hit you up. You know what I mean?
Because they're looking for the same work ethic.
Exactly. They're looking for the same work ethic. They're looking for the same deliverables, the same level of quality. You know what I mean? They're not going to go back to, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what I mean. That's what I want to just kind of like emphasize there. It's just like, once you kind of get like a couple of them, the other 10 will just kind of be easy. It's just like, if you a college, or you're in high school and you're getting offers from colleges and stuff, like once you get the first big one from a big D1 school, you're going to get 10 more. Yeah. It's the same thing.
We went through that here the first time we were offered funding. I was like, this ain't it. And they was like, no, don't worry about it. If you got one, another one will come.
They're going to keep coming. So.
And I feel like once you get the process right, you have to duplicate it every time. Yeah. And I think there's a level of discipline to deliver every single time, despite what you think the outcome is going to be. Yeah. I know I've shown up and I've done events and they didn't fill up. And sometimes I got more out of it in those times than the times when the room was full. Because you never know what the purpose was. Right. But I realized I show up 1,000% because I chose to. It has nothing to do with anyone else. It's how I represent me. And I've been on set, with you, and the energy in the room is it's ironic because it's like the energy here. Yeah. Like we be having a ball. Like is gonna be twerking and crying like within a second. Right. Good energy, good vibes, but also it's boundaries. Like when we need to move, it's like, hey, we need to do this and things like that. And what do you think the main difference is between your sets that you run compared to when you were on the sets and you were behind the camera? Because I feel like at some point that had to be fuel in the fire. Like, you know what? I don't want to do it Yahweh. If I would do it, I'd do it this way. So what are the differences between the sets you've worked on versus the sets that you create and the energies there?
I appreciate that, Eliud. So with that, like the goal for me, and it's always been this, is to shorten the gap between idea and execution. And the way you do that is by cultivating a great environment on set with the people that you work with, and having people that's like, all right, I'm making sure that every single person that I'm hiring, this is exactly what they want to do. It's not just like a filler or like a thing that they're doing because it makes money. This is what they're passionate about. Like if you do sound and you're a sound mixer, this is what you've been passionate about your whole life. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of people that I'm hiring for. Absolutely. And, I can leave set, right? But because they have so much respect for themselves first, they gonna execute. So I don't worry about it. You know what I mean? And it starts with that, like just hiring the right people that care about what they do. Setting expectations properly is another key thing. Like you have to really, over communicate. Like people talk about like, we got to communicate. We got to talk about this. Like, no, you really have to over communicate. You know what I'm saying?
Specifics.
And be very detailed, be very meticulous, follow-ups. And it's a way to communicate to people and not pester them at the same time. You know what I mean? It's a difference between a leader in the room and also a boss. So like, I appreciate the term that you gave me as a boss, but like, I'm more of a leader.
Say less.
You know what I mean? So like, when I say that, it's like, you got to lead people in a real direction and not just like boss them around because like, you paying them a certain amount of money that day. Like, no, like
Right.
we're
None
on
of
this
us
journey.
are doing it for the
you know
money.
what I'm saying? Nobody, you know what I mean? So
if
like
you would-
we doing it for the love of the art. But go ahead.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
If you're a creative, at some point you realize you're not doing it for the money because it'll never be worth. It'll never
be worth it.
You'll sell. I mean, even at 5-figure deals, you're gonna sell it, but you're gonna sell it, and they gonna make. You know what I'm saying? You won't get tagged. You won't get. You know what I'm saying? You got to be doing it because you want to do it.
Right.
And I love the differentiation between like the boss, and of course it's a term that we use, and I think it's a funny term, but leader is definitely the one because you're encouraging and you're telling someone, no, you can do it.
Right.
I'm not going to do it for you. I believe that you can do it, and you're here because we can. Now, what do you need from me to make it happen? It's more so let me provide you the resources.
Right.
I like to. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say like, and just to piggyback off that, I've been on sets with people where it was the complete opposite. It was people like they just didn't care about the people they was hiring. You know what I mean? They didn't really care about the like chemistry on set is a big thing too, man. Like you really gotta be in a space where your DP actually likes the gaffer that they're working with. That's a director of photography. That's the person that's holding the camera. I'm sorry, I'm using jargon. But the camera operator. And their main point of contact on set is, the director and then also their gaffer, which is the person that's controlling the lighting in the room. Like the chemistry between those three roles, it has to be in, almost perfect synergy because like if you at the top and you're not able to like work with the people that you're working with up there, like everything down is just not going.
So much more difficult to get through.
It's gonna make it so much more difficult to kind of like process and like get through an actual film set. So I've been in those rooms where it's like, this it's a lot of issues going on here up top with the producers and the directors. So like, it doesn't make it easier on, the below the line crew that's working. So and again, like just seeing that in a real way, it really opened my eyes up to what the needs are. Like identifying the need is just like one of the biggest things for me too. And that was it for me.
I feel like another huge point that I look for when it comes to like hiring or working with someone, because it is my name, and all the work behind it is I'm looking for someone that if I gave them everything they wanted today, would they be ready? Or are you gonna be like, oh yeah, I do want to do it, but like, and not because like, oh, I got this plan, but as soon as I'm done, like I'm here, count me in. No, they're like, oh, you mean like now? And I'm like, oh, I'm good because
right.
you know what I'm saying? You hand me $200,000. I'm about to like, I know what I'm about to do. I know where it's invested. I know what it's going, who I'm hiring, things like that. But a lot of people, you give them and say, hey, here's the plan. This is how I'm going to support you, right? And then the other one is that the specifics. I do not like working with people that are too scared to tell me what they want. I don't read minds. And it took me a long time to learn that I don't, believe it or not.
And that's another element of like over communicating too that I talk about. Like, like for those things, like really sitting down with the people that you work with and just understanding like, like what is it that you really want to get out of this project? What do you want to get out of like working in film? Like what is your end goal? And if it aligns with, just furthering their, career in film, like, then everything should be, kosher for the most part. Like you shouldn't really run into no issues. But if you're dealing with somebody and their heart really isn't in it, those are the people you deal with the most friction. You know what I mean? And so like just over communicating those things, dealing with people that, understand what we mean by over communicating. And, one thing I just want to ask you as well, like, how have you like, been able to like build a team?
You just flipped the script on my show?
I'm flipping it on you. So like how have you like managed to like really like build the team that you've built, built the house that you've built, obviously I just want to plug you real quick, like definitely book this house, you know what I'm saying, this is one of over a dozen sets here, definitely pull up and shoot, show love. But just really wanted to ask for real, like, how have you been able to like, because one of the hardest things that I've experienced is like really building a core team. And I've done that and I got an answer, but I just want to hear yours first.
I run off the death row record principle.
Okay.
It's blood in, blood out over here.
You know what I'm saying? Sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's blood in, blood out over here. So in all honesty, I've found that I get more and I find the people that like me. When I find people that like me, that that can see me and see where I've came from, it's one that means that I'm able to even be vulnerable and share with them who I really am. I'm Samia. This is what I come from, and what I'm learning is new. This is what I like. I don't have a lot of family, but I love it. And so now you're my family. If we work together, we're family. Even if I want you to leave because you've gotten to your next thing and I want you to hire me and I want to be there, you know what I'm saying, to support you, and let's switch roles. But I'm looking to be used. I want to be used. I want to be with people that want me to show up for them. And it's like, hey, Samaya, can you help me with this? And vice versa. I want that. And I'm looking for people that understand that their purpose is more important than anything.
Absolutely.
People that enjoy their job here, you know, with me. And I think the biggest part was saying no. A lot of people offer you things for free in this business, and they want to work with you and they want to do things with you and stuff like that. But you have to watch that. You can't say yes to all the help. Learning how to communicate properly if something wasn't for me was huge, because it's boundaries. It's like, I understand that you're offering this for free, but it doesn't feel that way. I actually, my ass cheeks are a little clenched when I talk to you, and I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's enough. That's enough for me to say no. So listening to myself and finding out where I feel comfort, you know, there. And I'm huge on integrity. So who you are when you're not here matters to me.
Listen.
There are contracts that I've pulled, and there are people that don't show up to my events anymore. You are no longer welcome because you put me in situations, and it had nothing to do with me, but what you had going on in your personal life interfere with what we had going on here, and I don't like that. And I also realize sometimes people show up when life presents you a problem and you learn how to maneuver it properly, and so then it'll give you the right thing. And so I even with shout out to Brandon. He's the newest one, a part of the team, and I'm so excited. Shout out Brandon. B-Oats out here. We're gonna put his name right here for you. And the energy that he came with. I'm talking about, we got on the phone to talk about what time he was coming today, and we stayed on the phone for like 2 hours. And we're talking about why we want to do this, and you know what I'm saying? But it took for me to tell someone no just the week before. Someone who was a friend, someone who I love working with. You know what I'm saying? I really wanted them to play a role, but I knew in my heart, this is not the role they want to play. They just want to be in the room. And I can find another way if that energy is there. But if you're not sure and you just want to be here because it's the next opportunity, this is my lifeline. This is my life savings. I am a mother. I don't have time to be playing these games. Like, are you really here because you want to be here? And understanding that and not being scared to hurt a little feelings or step on some toes, you know, and doing that respectfully. The doors open every time I say no to something or yes to what I'm supposed to. Understanding that the boundaries decide whether I go left or right, and respecting that process and learning what forcing feels like and understanding what patience feels like and all of that is really
the same principles that we have in relationships. They just carry over to business. Like you set boundaries, you set guidelines. Like it's the same thing. Like you just setting a proper boundary with certain people, and you gotta make people feel it sometimes. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of it, just so they understand. Like, yo, this is how I feel about my brand, and if you don't feel the same way, like it's probably not a space here for you. You know what I mean? And it's really as simple as that.
I charge folks up as well. Like I charge you up. Like if you in this house, you fly. Like you fly.
You know what I mean?
It's called something extraordinary content house. If you're here, I need you to understand and walk and talk that shit, because you're here because even if you don't see you, I see you. And so you may not trust you, but do you trust me? You know what I'm saying? Because I know when I see talent. I know when it's amazing. And I'm looking for people that believe in themselves. They just looking for, you know, what's the next thing I need to do to get to that point. And, you know, I like good energy. I like being honest. I like appreciating people, letting people know, yo, thank you so much for being on time. Thank you for waiting on me. I know I changed my lip gloss 3 times. I know. And I appreciate you. Like when it comes to my makeup artists, they be having everything. They got edges on the go and gel and twists and rubber band and stuff. They see me and they see what I forget and they see what's important to me. You know what I'm saying? So, and I appreciate all of them. I couldn't do it without, but y'all gonna have me misty as in here. Like I love my team, and my team is my family. Like it really is.
And it's like that's the way it should be. It should be like, and for those people who don't really know me and my journey, like I started, you know, Open Season as a production company, like 7-8 years ago. just me and, my business partner at the time, like we like started it, built it, and, like we had an event last year. We hosted Stacey Abrams' largest event at my studio, over 400 or 500 people in person, thousands of people virtually. And, it was 20 people, open
They
season
shouted
shirts
that out
day.
on Breakfast Club.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shout it out on Breakfast Club. Shout out Charlamagne. 21 Savage was there. And a few more people of influence. So that was just dope. So just seeing that progress and that progression and just the level of passion that you have for your team is the level of passion I have for mine. And in the same breath and the same token too, they had that same love for me as well. And that's the way it should be. And to take that a step further, like for me, like, one of my guys, Gray, he got married last year in Italy, you know what I mean? And, for most people, it's like, yo, like, you took a trip to Italy, like, it was cool, whatever. Like, ultimately, for me, like, I took that trip just to show, like, all right, like, you don't show up for me in so many different ways. Like, I'm going to show up for you on your wedding day, bro. And I'm not even the type of person to just, like, show up at every event. Like, I'm always somebody who's got my head down, like, working and stuff like that. So,
I feel that.
you know what I'm saying? Like, just, like, I wanted to show up for him in that way, you know what I'm saying? And just being there and, like, like, that's just an example of just the culture that I've cultivated, within open season. Yeah, it's been reciprocated, yeah, a billion times over.
So I think something that we have to talk about is kind of like an elephant in the room.
Okay.
With you being 29 and, and you've thrown out numbers like 7-8 years ago and things like that. I think that our thought process is like, dang, you're doing a lot for being young. But what that really ties into is the foundation that you really were built off of. Is just instead of, and not just at all, but instead of having to catch up, which is, I know my story, which is catching up and breaking those generational patterns and then having to set forth on a path that I've never seen walked. Yeah. Can you talk about the foundation and how it played the role in you being this man? Because you didn't have to or from what I know, so you let me know, didn't have to play catch up and find yourself. You had the support group. And I know you've mentioned before the men that were in your life that shaped you, that you're starting where you're starting. So it's not that you're so young. This is how it should be, that you shouldn't have to start at 40. Like some of us are doing that and, but everyone doesn't have to. And it's about making that next generation not have to work so damn hard to get to these points now. You can just start at,
Right. So like, I would say like let me take myself back to like as a kid.
Take it back.
Like,
take
so
it back.
like
Take
as a kid for
down,
me, like, I grew up, with like in a 2-parent household. My dad, even to this day, like he's one of my best friends. You know what I mean? So like when I say that, like I really mean that, like best friends. So like he was a father, but also like I was really close with like his coworkers, uncles, like I'm an old head, you know what I'm saying? Just based on that. Like I like spent a lot of time like growing up around them, like hearing conversations about stuff that he dealt with. Even if I didn't know like what was going on, I still tried to understand it. You know what I mean?
He let you in. He let you in and,
you know what I mean?
Showed you all of it.
And he just showed me that early on. And, my dad was 23 when he had me. So like with that, like we were closer in age. I was able to kind of understand what he was going through to a degree. You know what I'm saying? And that was the foundation. And then when I went to Kennesaw, it transitioned from like my dad as like the main level of support to, a lot of black women through like a business fraternity that I was in Kennesaw, Delta Sigma Pi. So like through that, business fraternity, it's co-ed obviously, so it's male and female. And so through that network, I met, Lindsay, which built Culture Misfits. I got a couple other like. Basically, a lot of my best friends came through that organization. Like, I got friends that work at EY. I got lawyers, you know what I mean, and things like that, just all through that network. And so, like, just being in that room and just, like, you're a product of your environment, right? So, like, if you know 4 millionaires, you're probably going to be the 5th one. So, like, so with that in mind, like, I was just in these rooms with them and just seeing how they were moving, and that inspired me in a real way to kind of like build what I built. Like if you doing it, like I know I could do it too. You know what I mean? You just showed me it. You just showed me that.
Yeah.
So I just want to reach back. Exactly. It's just figuring out the how, and you might not even all the way know how to do the how, right? But at least try. Put yourself in the
Know
best
what you
position
want.
to try to
There's
do it.
always something that you can be doing.
Yeah, it's always something.
Always
so,
something.
And with that in mind, like, figure out your how, and even more than that, like, figure out your why and take steps every single day towards whatever that thing is.
Absolutely.
Creatives, podcasters, entrepreneurs, if you're looking for an amazing place to create consistent content, then you need to check out the Something Extraordinary Content House. Located in the heart of Atlanta, it's in a great location as well as only 15 minutes from the airport. So whether you're in town or not, maybe you need to get more serious about the content that you're creating. This is a great place to create something extraordinary because it's equipped with 5+ rooms with 2 kitchens, 2 living rooms, amazing energy, plus a host of vendors that are already the best in their field at creating content. So make sure that you check us out at semediagroup.co or check out some visuals and events and amazing things that we have going on over on Instagram at SE Content House. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon because we're going to get to creating some extraordinary content.
So we're going to switch gears just a little bit.
Okay. All right, cool.
So you do work in the entertainment industry. At the end of the day, you work in the entertainment industry.
Yep.
And so we've seen the scandals. We've seen the, the shade room things. We've seen the relationships not work out. What does a relationship look like in this field for you? And do you feel like the things that you've seen behind the scenes and I mean, look at some of the videos that you've just shot recently with music and
we can actually talk about all of that.
And like, and like he's filming about like divorce and losing sharing custody and things like that. You've seen a lot of that. How has that impacted what, like, the relationship style that you can see for yourself?
So like for me personally, I think like relationships are like in entertainment, right? It's just you have to, as partners who don't really work in entertainment, they have to see it for themselves to understand it. So like whoever I'm dating or dealing with at the time, like I definitely try to include them and show them like what my day looks like, what's around me. And I think a lot of people don't. And, curiosity breeds a lot of bad things, a lot of assumptions. So if you bring them in that space and they kind of see what's going on and see what your day looks like, you're not going to get them texts every hour. You're not going to get a lot of the issues that we really see in the real way. So I always take time to really do that. And just going back to what I said before, just over communicating. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like, because it seems like almost like even like what Tia Mowry, her and her husband were together, 12 to 15 years. Do you think that it's still possible to go the long way? Do you think that entertainment is the issue? Do you think that entertainment is the issue? Or what do you think is the problem?
I'll say this. And since you mentioned that, like when we talk about like celebrity couples or like 2 people working in entertainment, it's extremely tough for 2 people. Like when both of them are working in entertainment, it's extremely tough.
Yeah.
Cause like their days look vastly different. And, our emotions go through so many different like seasons in a month.
Especially as a creative,
like
entrepreneur.
You know what I mean?
All those
like
things.
Our emotions are all over the place, I would say. And I also come from a space where like, I was working corporate before, like I kind of gravitated fully over to where I'm at as an entrepreneur and, working in entertainment and stuff like that. Like, so I see both sides, like as like, working corporate, it's like, yes, your emotions are like, all over the place too, but like your days are a little bit more consistent with like a schedule. Unless you know what I mean? It's more structured. So like with that in mind, you're not really dealing with like so many different like changes for real in a real way. So I'm saying that to kind of preface and say this, like, you definitely in my eyes, like you definitely need somebody who's on one hand working entertainment and then one person is working corporate. So you get the dynamic of kind of both and they kind of like mesh in that way. Like it's been tough, like dealing with 2 people that work in entertainment. Like I haven't. And
it is.
Like I've seen successful cases where that does work out, but like you just need somebody who like they're on the outside is what I'm saying. So
So for me as a creative, this is the first time that I'm like, okay, I'm opening myself up to the idea of another creative.
Yeah.
And it's been so detailed in the way that I've been thinking about what works and what didn't work before.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about them being in corporate. It was about the vision and understanding, are they in their purpose?
Yeah.
And a lot of them weren't in their purpose, right?
Yeah. That's true.
But also I had to even realize there are a lot of people that are in entertainment that have different roles. Like right now I'm talent and behind the, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I have no interest in dating anybody else that's in talent. I don't. I'm not going to, I ain't going to put my foot in my mouth. You never know what's for. Hell, I said I never moved to Atlanta. Here we are. So, if you want to make God laugh, tell him what your plans are. But for me, I think that watching and seeing how it works, and I think it's more so not just the entertainment or the marriage piece or anything, it's the communication of it all.
Yeah.
And how literally my counselor has me with relationship contracts, and you do them with your friends, you do them with anybody that you work with, which is what's the best way that you communicate? How often do you like to communicate? Do voice notes work for you? No. Because we never ask those questions. We just assume, and then we get upset because there's this unspoken expectation of how we're supposed to communicate, and that creates a lot of problems. But my next question, also being behind the camera.
Okay.
You've seen a lot of fantasy.
Yeah.
And then you live in the real world. And I want to know, what do you think is missing from sex in this generation? Because you've seen it as a real walking, talking human, but you've also created amazing things. But you know how to create these things. I mean, even I'm an
What's
intimacy.
lacking from sex right now? Honestly, it's still going back to communication. Like
In what way?
in a sense of like, we got to be more vocal as men, you know what I'm saying, about, or just opening the door, just say, hey, look, like, tell me what pleasure looks like for you, because
I like the verbiage.
You know what I mean?
What pleasure looks like for
you know what I mean? And just starting the conversation there, what are you seeking? How do I, you know what I mean? Just
paint the picture.
How do I paint a picture? Like, and things like that. So I just think if men can remove, egos and pride, and they can just express to their partner, just so they can be in alignment on that, the same way we're respecting them to be in alignment on everything else. I think it should start there.
I feel like there's a lot of untapped success and potential hidden behind the lack of orgasms that people are getting.
Yeah.
And I feel like, to your point of communication, people are not able to communicate, I'm not satisfied.
Right.
But it's not you, it's just this isn't complete.
Yeah.
This isn't done.
Right.
How do you feel about foreplay? What do you think do you think that there are some misconceptions? I mean, and I have to go back to it. I watch you make magic. I saw where you were shooting.
Yeah.
And I saw what it looked like when you was done. I was like, it's a little finesse and skill, so you know how to do, you know what I'm saying? You have the talent to create anything.
Yeah.
But also, it's not real. Whatever's behind the camera, it's what you told me you wanted to create, so I did.
Yeah.
Do you think that in the bedroom that there's a level of you could feel like I'm just doing what the person wants versus...
I'll say this. I think foreplay even starts outside of the bedroom.
Come on, talk about it.
I think foreplay starts that morning. Just the small things. How can you affirm this person so by the time you actually get to the bedroom, she's thinking about that. She's thinking about that moment where you took an extra step to show up for her. You know what I mean? And vice versa. That's foreplay to me. And then once you actually get to, the bedroom and you kind of, doing what you do, I think having just ample time of foreplay and we can
having enough time to do what needs to be done.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So all of that is key.
What is your sexual love language? So I'm gonna give you a little background. All right, so
I've honestly never been asked that, so I'm excited to see where that goes.
Okay. Okay.
I know my love language. I don't know my sexual love language.
Okay, well, what's your love language? Let's start there. What is your love language?
Physical touch.
Okay, physical touch. So with the love languages, you take the exact same ones, but then we're going to put it in a sexual sense. So words of affirmation in a sexual way could look like affirmations during sex, or like while you're getting oral, or sending voice notes and people are masturbating and things like that. Like you hear on this show, we talk about masturbating all the time.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. When it comes to physical touch in sex, it's not just actually touching, but it's more so the ways in which you touch, and like the body massages and things like that, not just necessarily, holding hands. And you have gifts in a sexual love language is like, oh, you want to try this, you want to try that, bags of tricks, let me bring home this to try, or like, oh, I want to try this, I found this on, what I'm saying? Like it's a gift, or it's, what do you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want today? You know what I'm saying? It's your turn. Whatever you want, that works. And then you have a quality time. So for me, I realize I'm more of a quality time words of affirmation person. First of all, say some nasty ass shit in my ear that encourages me. Absolutely. Yeah. But also it's the quality time. Like, I mean, ain't nothing wrong with a good quickie here and there, but also I like playing sex. I like knowing what times that we've set aside. Like, hey, I've sent you a calendar invite to tear that shit up. To run it up. You know what I'm saying? Knock the coins out that thing. Yeah. And it means that now we both knew what was going on to say, hey, the shower ready, the bath ready, the rose petals ready. I know that you want all these things because I do. I want all the things. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like quality time makes time for that because it's planned, which means there's no excuses when you intentionally did that. Yeah. But also with words of affirmation, I'm a huge sapiosexual. So the conversation is a thing that if the conversation isn't there, then she ain't there. Nothing
else is there.
It's
you know what I mean? When you're not mentally stimulated, like, and I'll say this for me too, like I'm a sapiosexual, like, the first couple times, that we have sex, it may be cool, but like if I'm not mentally stimulated, the stimulation gonna go away.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean? I don't like how I know. Let me watch how I say this because they be cutting these clips and then
You know what I mean?
But hot and heavy sex is not my favorite anymore. Yeah, it never really was, but it's definitely not a fan favorite because it's not the hot and heavy is usually very quick. You know what I'm saying? And when I say quick, I mean that you can't do it like that every single time. But the intentionality, I think when you're able to slow it down and it's still hot, you know what I'm saying? I think that's a more long lasting like sexual chemistry.
Yeah, just balance.
So it brings us back to what is your sexual love language?
Oh man, I would say physical touch and definitely words of affirmation. Because like with words of affirmation, you really get a chance to like paint a picture. Like it may be like moody light or like it might be dark or whatever, but in your head you can kind of visualize whatever you want to visualize, and through words you get to like words are visual. So if you hearing certain things a certain way,
pop up.
An image definitely gonna pop up, and it's just like, you know what I mean? That's when your like arousal levels is just extremely heightened, and so through that, and then also like the way that you touch a person is just so telling. You know what I mean about the way you feel about them.
That's real. That's very real. So, you ever had like somebody like touch you like, and it's like caring, but it's like
you know what I mean?
Just like, hey. Laugh at me.
You know what I mean?
This is like, did they touch me in a way, or did I feel away from the way that they touched me? Like, who am I crediting this to?
Right.
But I think there is an energy in how people touch.
It is.
So we're gonna move on. We got you out the house. we had to get there.
Hey, you guys, it's your host Samia. If you're enjoying the topics over here, honestly, I think you'd love the topics over on my learning platform. I have some private interviews over there with some amazing guests. I've interviewed Mr. Marcus, yes, that's the porn star, Passion Jones, who brought on her husband and her boyfriend, and even had some girls' night conversations with Medina from Cocktails, as well as Mila from Good Moms Bad Choices. That conversation was amazing. We did some examples of our dirty talk, and let's just say you need to check it out. Don't just take my word for it. Make sure that you click the link below and sign up today. There are over 250 workshops, classes, interviews, and so much more. All right, now back to the show.
All right.
We're going to move on to advice.
Okay.
So today, I think I had an advice letter for today, didn't I? All right. Y'all, we real people with real things. Can I have my phone? Because I did not text it to myself. Real people with real things.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all
I showed
good.
up to work today. Shout out to my amazing producer, Stephanie, running the show today. Hey, girl. You see this evil eye she giving me? Get it on camera. Thank you. All right. So we have an advice letter for today.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to help us answer it.
All right, cool.
I believe in you.
I believe in myself.
There you go. All right. All right. Hey, Samia. I'm loving the podcast. Your story is an interesting one that needs to be told. I'm going to try to keep this brief. I've been dealing with my fuck buddy on and off for 11 years, one of the longest in my life. We communicate well and are extremely sexually attracted to each other. At least I feel that way. And he expresses it to me often. And while the sex is good, he's never made me orgasm, nor does he go rounds. I feel that, sis. I feel that. Unfortunately, I didn't have my first orgasm until I was 34. But I know he thinks I have because I've always faked it. He and I have become so much closer as of lately, and I want to tell him that I want him to actually make me come. But I have no idea how to maneuver that conversation. I'm happy with us remaining fuck buddies. I don't want a serious relationship with him, but I just wish he could fuck me the way that I want and also give me the multiple rounds. She added that multiple rounds in there again because that was very clear. Best, Ashley. So,
Ashley, I'm gonna speak to you just from a male perspective, and then
Please
obviously
do.
she'll give you a female perspective. But for me, like, if I'm that partner, just tell me what it is. Just tell me. It ain't no, like, again, like, if you're dealing with somebody that ain't prepared to know, like, a better way of, like, having sex, then, you know, they got to check themselves. Like, they got to, you know what I mean? Like, and we deal with, like, a lot of men who carry a lot of pride. They're not prepared to hear certain things like that. But, like, most, like, evolved men, they're prepared to hear that. And they need to hear that. And they want to hear that. Like, I want to hear that. Like, don't be, like, don't feel like you can't tell somebody, like, what they can improve on. And this, again, this goes back to what your original question was, like, what was lacking is just that communication, just talking through it.
I think that as a woman, I've noticed that we can feel when y'all desire go up and down because the level of hardness changes.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And so when we and it may not be even intentional, when the moans are coming out and the moods are coming out, or y'all notice like this thing curled this way and y'all like, oh, okay, she like, you know what I'm saying? I think that asking yourself, is this person a attentive person, period?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are they attentive?
Yeah.
But you do gotta let them know. Hey, you gotta let this man know.
Yeah.
You gotta let him know. And I think the type of way you frame it is that, look,
Yeah.
this was not intentional, but it has now been a long time, and I enjoy, like, this feels good. But now I've had an orgasm and I'm aware that I'm not having them with you. This doesn't make it bad, but can we talk about this? Because, like, if it's good without orgasms,
Man.
I'm just saying, if that shit's slapping without even finishing, you know what I'm saying? Then that's that. And then, and she mentioned rounds on here twice, so I think,
Man,
you know,
listen, like,
get a gallon of water in them.
like,
Let's start there. A little coconut water, the good kind. You know what I'm saying? There's that, but also learning different tantric practices will help with, like, edging and lasting longer,
Right.
and things like that. And also ask yourself, when is the last time I've invested in my sexuality? Like, you'll go and learn a class on this or that, or you take your car to get oil changed, put a little work into it. Like, when is the last time you put some work into that?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Penis. When is the last time you put a little work into it? And or put a little work into the pussy. Like, when is the last time you invested just a little bit in it? You know what I'm saying? And doing it together. Like, hey, like, let's just start over. Like, let's just start over, because this is really great. And and then apologize as well.
Yeah.
I think that you
You've
been faking for 11 years.
Something else I'll say
apologize.
too about just maturity, man. Like, you gotta have, like, a level of self-awareness to say, hold on, like, I'm not 100% of what I need to be. How can I improve?
Yeah.
And sex is a part of that too. Like you got to be able to, like, all right, like what if I'm not doing certain things that my partner's asking? Like, how do I improve on that? You know what I
And
mean?
also add some shit. Add little toys.
Yeah.
They got a little this.
Like
They got a
something,
little that.
like, you know what I
They got a
mean?
little-
Like make up for where you lack. Like that's the most key thing. Like if you know you're not able to do one thing, like incorporate. Like I mean, even if you are fulfilling in a certain area, definitely
Why
bring
not
in
add it
towards.
anyway?
Yeah, just add it
Why
anyway.
not add it anyway?
Like, you know,
Could you imagine shooting a whole set like just with the camera in your arms? Like no stands, no
nothing,
gimbal,
like, yeah.
you got to do it. I mean, you can do it. Why would you though? Like why
use the tools that you have that
Okay.
can. And another thing too, I'll say actually, it's just like yo, and I'm speaking to her directly. It's like this is your fuck buddy, right? So they got one job.
They got one job.
They got one job. Like if y'all can't talk about that one thing, what else are y'all talking about?
But you got one job. It was the
Like-
one job for me.
Like
my G, you got
You know
one
what I'm saying?
job.
Like, yo, like-
and if he don't respond well, then cut him off. He
On to
can't.
the next.
He
Like,
got
on to
one
the next
job.
one.
He got one job.
on to the next one.
Okay. So thank you for your assistance. Okay. Thank you for your assistance in that one. All right. So before we get out of here, we got to end with the spiritual tip of the day. And so today we're talking about manifestation. And I just wanted to talk about in what ways have you manifested the life that you have now? And I want to talk about, like you said, like the visuals of certain things and the words that you say to yourself and what your manifestation practice looks like. I would like to talk to daydreaming. I think as a creative, your mind goes to places and then you, not me anymore, but before I used to reel back because where I was going, because I had no idea how I got from here to there, I would think that doesn't make sense and I would throw it out.
Right.
But it's like, I don't give a fuck about the bridge. If I see myself in a place, in a city, I have no idea, you know?
Yeah.
For me last year for my 30th birthday, it was huge for me to knock out my bucket list.
Yeah.
So like this year I'm trying to create another one. Like, you know, I'm not sure what's on the bucket list this
Right,
time,
right.
but I've done everything and it was, sometimes there's nothing in the way of what you actually want. You just don't, it sounds crazy that you're going to
Yeah.
do it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to the Maldives, I was like, I'm really about to do that shit. Like I just, it's one, you know how you say things and it's like, I want this. And it's like, you have the money to go, but you haven't done it. Why,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or,
Like,
and
what's
it doesn't
stopping
have
you?
to be the Maldives, y'all. That was mine for my
Yeah,
30th
yeah,
birthday.
yeah.
But what does your manifestation process look like? Does it include masturbate? I mean, here in this space, it's a masturbation and manifestation, you know, safe place. But you know,
at this stage, not really, not. The
he
best
like
of it.
I ain't masturbating for the goals. I mean, it's all right. We work on it.
But when we talk about manifestation, like, you know, in a real way, people like see me on set and, you know, I'm on set and I'm kind of like, I'm in my thoughts more than I'm present a lot of times on set because I'm thinking about how do I maximize a certain scene? How do I maximize this project in this video? And I'm thinking about like all of the red flags or the obstacles or, you know, we talk about like, you know, we're leaders, right? So to me, we're firefighters. Like we're constantly putting out fires, constantly trying to extinguish certain situations that may arise on set. And I'm constantly thinking about all of that. So when we talk about manifesting, like manifestation starts like at the top of the day, like, you know, in the morning, like the words that you say to yourself to start your day is the most important conversation of the entire day.
Absolutely.
Like every other conversation you're gonna have, like it's important, but it's not as important as the conversation you have with yourself.
Absolutely.
So I always start with that, and you know how you kind of set your intentions at the beginning, it kind of proceeds from there. So after that, like I'm manifesting, you know, how do I like, you know, you came on set with me this week actually with Music Soul Child. We shot in the courtroom. You know, shout out Jack Thriller, he was the judge. It's crazy little concept that we had, you know, and for that specific video, just to give a real example, like, you know, I had no idea what was going on walking into it because, you know, Music had his own perception of what the video was.
I saw that.
I had my own ideas. So it was kind of like a back and forth. And it just like, in order to navigate through that, you got to be able to manifest the proper end goal. regardless. And so like I can't get in my own way as a director and like try to negate what the artist wants. Like it's the artist's video. It ain't mine. You know what I mean?
So understanding how to balance
how do you balance that? And a lot of directors, they haven't found out the best way to balance. You know what I mean? And so like you got to be able to manifest. Like at the end of the day, the end goal is creating an amazing video that the client loves, that I love, and that people love. So how do I marry the three?
I've done this thing where I reverse engineer my discipline, and that has been really beautiful for me because sometimes I don't know the in-between at all. Sometimes I know the very beginning steps. Like I'm gonna start here and then I'm gonna work my way. And then sometimes I don't know where to start, but I know I want this thing. And so if I don't know how to get there, I just start imagining what that will be like. So like this house, I started designing months ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a lot of things that I can't even afford right now or we're in this house in my mind, right?
Yeah.
And I think that even shows in the direction that it showed because the things that I was shooting for, I'm not saying that they're unattainable, but who knows if I really wanted them, but I went for everything. How would I don't put limits on my mind, right?
Right.
And so then when it came into reality, I was already looking at all these amazing, you know what I'm saying? And so all that amazingness showed up here because I didn't think about what I could do. I had to dream on something that like, I don't know if I could do that, but if right now, while it's free for me to dream, I'm gonna get everything like while it's free. And so those are the things that stick with you when it's actually time to start planning and things like that. And it may come down a couple notches or to reality, but it's still bigger than when you tried to start like at the beginning. I think a lot of people think they need to start
Shoot for the stars
at the
on the
beginning.
Moon.
I will reverse engineer the discipline way more sometimes because sometimes all I know is what I want is this. I have no idea how the fuck I'm gonna get there, but I know I want this and I want to see my name here. And you know what I'm saying? And so putting myself in more situations that look like that and feel like that, even if I'm not doing the role that I aspire to do, something that gets me closer to it. And you know, manifestation is even volunteering myself. I mean, I tapped in with you guys and was like, hey, when y'all have this going on, I'm down the street. Tap me in, like extra. You know what I'm saying? You need an assistant on the set. Like I want to be in these places more. Things like that. That's manifestation. Just offering your talents where you want them to be, being in the room you want to be in, regardless of the capacity. My producer started off taking a class, then becoming an intern, and then now she here and she run this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's the baby step. Get to the place that you want. Just go there.
Shout out to producers.
Shout out to producer Big Steph, not the little one.
Yeah, you feel me?
And it's like just get into the room that you want to be in. And it's almost like window shopping with your goals and with your dreams and with the locations and the cities and you know what I'm saying. Half the places I found out that I wanted to go to, I found on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? Like it do whatever you need to do.
Right.
But thank you for gracing us with your presence. I appreciate everything just so far. It's been a small amount of time. Y'all have interviewed me. I don't know when y'all hear this, y'all might see our interview.
You know what I'm saying? Our interview might be out sooner than this one, but you know, I know what you was leading to, but just to plug, you know, just the studio. You can find us at thehbuc. That's thehbuc.com. Also follow our production page, Open Season. We just got plugged by Shade Room for some stuff that we did with T-Pain. Not crazy, you know what I'm saying? OPNSZN.com. That's us. You can find us on Instagram.
Slight word. So, we will put all the links below. And I just want to give you your flowers. I appreciate you. One of the things I really enjoy about talking to you is it feels like I'm talking to myself. And, you know, as a creative, you do a lot of that. You talk to yourself a lot. That means a lot. So finding that energy and finding alignment and, you know, you tapping me in and just say, hey, be on set at this time. Here's the address. Come do what you need to do. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that because it's not necessarily needed. It's not required, but you do it anyway. And so that's very kind. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for joining us. And you know, our hearts and minds clear. All right. I'll see you at the next episode. Thank you so much. This was Not Just Another Sex Podcast.